I am ready to raise the rates in my childcare program. How much should I charge my parents, guys? That is the #1 question that I always get. So I'm going to answer that here for you today in this video. How much should you charge your parents? But not just charge your parents. You really want to take into consideration how to make a profit in those fees. So if this is what you're looking for, this is going to be the video for you. And let's dive in. First thing that you want to consider when you're thinking about how much should you charge your parents, guys, I'm going to get right into it. First thing I'm going to say is take out of your mind how much you're going to charge them. And the first thing that you want to take into consideration is how much is it going to cost you to operate your program. Even as a family-based childcare provider, like how much does it cost you on a day-to-day, every single month to operate your program? And then you go from there. So some of the expenses, obviously, you want to take into consideration is going to be, your insurances, your liability, your food, your payroll, your marketing, your electric, your utilities, all of these things. So you want to take into consideration what are your expenses for the business first, okay? Second thing I'm going to say is you want to consider looking at what are your rates, right? So what are the rates in your area? And I say that because it's so important. You want to make sure when you're looking at the rates in your area that you're comparing apples to apples, not apples to oranges. So you don't want to be comparing. I know as a center-based program and it used to be a family-based childcare program, you don't want to be looking at someone's rate as a center-based program and you're thinking that's the rate that you should be charging. That's not apples to apples. Why? Because they're a center and you're a family-based program. So you really want to look at what are your comparison rates in your program and another program that is typically, give or take, around the same capacity as you, maybe the same accreditation as you, maybe the same quality star rating as you, because then that's really comparing apples to apples when you're looking at what's the going rate in your area. Another great place that I always love as a starter point, I know this is something that I did when we first opened our second location, because we were in like a whole different area, is going to be check your subsidy rates, right? So subsidy rates are your government-based paying programs that pay childcare programs in replacement of the parent paying for that tuition or being out of pocket. So check their rates, right? Every single city, every single state has subsidy paying for them, whether you qualify or not. It's a great place to start because you can see this is how much they charge for infants, this is how much they charge for toddlers, preschool, after school, and so forth, summer rates, all of that stuff. It's a really great place to start. And I will say that many of the subsidy rates, no matter where you are, obviously target certain type of programs and certain type of families. So a lot of them subsidy rates could be either for low income based families, and it doesn't mean that what they charge, like let's just say that they charge $30 a day for a preschool, right? And a preschool is a child that's 3 years old. I'm just throwing numbers out there. But let's say that they charge $30 a day. That doesn't mean that you have to charge $30 a day. That could just be a place that they charge, because ideally, many of the times the subsidy rates are kind of lower than what private-based childcare providers charge. They may pay that fee and add on top, but it's a really great starting point because it lets you know if you wasn't in the 30 range and maybe you was in the $15 range, okay, wait, let me at least start at this base price because this is like across the state, right, or across your county. So always check your subsidy rates. Is a really great place to go when you're trying to get into the ballpark of prices for your specific demographic and your specific city and state. All right, so my next thing is going to be what is special about your program? What is special about your program? What is unique about your childcare center or your family-based childcare program? And I want to say that, I want to stress that so much because let's be honest, anytime you go into any store, right, whether you are going to buy something high-end or whether you are going to buy something Target, at the end of the day, one of the things you want to make sure is that your program is unique. So maybe your hours are unique, right? Maybe you offer weekend care. Maybe you offer 24-hour care. Maybe you offer drop-in care. Like there's so many different things that go into the space of running a childcare program and charging families, but what is unique about your program? Maybe you offer dance or sports or yoga or something extra in your program to make your program stand out. Or maybe one of the beautiful things is that people like overlook is the selling point of being intimate, being private, caring for that child, more attention. smaller classrooms. That's a beauty to sell in a family-based childcare program, right? So I always say, what is unique about your program? And that's always a great space to be a selling point, because mom can come in and be like, oh, well, you're charging $200 a month. Well, the center down the street is only charging, you know, $175 or $150. You know, can you match that? And guess what? Your answer is going to be, well, we charge $200 because down the street, their ratio is 10-to-1. In that classroom, and here in our classroom, in our private intimate setting, in our family-based home, your child is getting more one-on-one, more love, and maybe we only have 3-to-1 with the teacher that's in that space. So see what is unique about your program and make sure you market that. And last but not least, guys, my final tip is going to be, what will you include in this tuition? So it's not just about how much you can make. It's not just about, you know, what it is. But I will say, when you're setting those rates, is what is it going to include, right? So yes, I know we're dropping the child off, but what is included in this tuition? These are all things you want to have laid out when you're thinking about what is it that I should charge, or what are some things that I'm thinking about. So before I go into my next tip, I want to make sure that you guys drop down and give me some comments and let me know, what do you guys consider choosing on your rates? Are y'all struggling with your rates? Are you scared to raise your rates? Like, talk to me. I want to know. Okay. But my final tip is going to be what's included in the tuition. Okay. So as a private-based childcare provider, whether you are family, group, or center, are you including diapers and wipes, right? Are you including formula in your tuition? Are parents going to be responsible to pack their own children's lunch, or all 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, and snack? Or are you also including that in? Because food is a big expense. You'd be surprised. You think like, oh, it's something simple, and especially in this 5% inflation rate that we're in right now in 2023. But food is a really big expense. If you don't have a food program or a supportive sponsor in that space, food is pricey. So is food included in your tuition? Is curriculum, right? So are you going, I've seen some centers that have even changed it that you got to pay extra for a curriculum, right? So are you going to be having a licensed curriculum in your family-based childcare program? What are you going to be using? How are you going to be teaching the kids? That's something you may want to consider, because a curriculum costs money every single month in order to have that curriculum in your program, and making sure that you're creating developmentally appropriate lessons for those children. Okay, so are you also going to be charging an enrollment fee? Right? An enrollment fee is like one of the greatest ways to charge, and it's always non-refundable whether they show up or whether they don't, because these are extra fees that you add on as you are getting ready. Why? Because printing paper costs to get all of their enrollment things together. You may have to bring in another teacher when you're thinking about, you know, adding on another child, or adding on a different age group, in a mixed age group in your family-based childcare program. So you want to see what is considered in the tuition, and what are all the things you're willing to pay for, and what are some of the things maybe you're not willing to pay for that you want that to be on the parent. So yes, my tuition rate might be cheaper, just like I'll give an example on airlines, right? So yes, the airline flight might be cheaper for the initial base rate, but by the time you check in your luggage or do priority boarding and all of that other stuff, the ticket adds up that you like, I might as well just have went to another airline, right? It's the same thing in childcare. So you want to see what is going to be included in your tuition, and what can you afford when it comes to determining your prices for a parent. All right, guys, so now that we talked and dropped some tips in regards to how much you should charge your parents and what are some considerations, I'm going to flat out say that there is no specific number. And the reason why is because your rates change, your needs change, your demographic change, your age and your community of the people that you're servicing, which is called your ideal client. It changes, okay? It changes on a regular. But one thing that I will say is that you want to do your due diligence of research. So take into consideration some of the things that I said in regards to expenses and rates and areas and subsidy, and do all of your due diligence, because let me tell you something, you want to make sure that the number that you charge for parents is not just to charge them and then pay the bills. No, you want to make sure that you add on a little bit, because you still want it to be profitable, right? You still want it to be profitable. So maybe you might add on an extra $25 per child aside from your base rate, so you know that this rate per child is going to make me a profit. Because at the end of the day, that's a whole nother video that I have in profit and expenses. Yes, people can say like, oh, I've made 6 figures in my childcare business. Yes, you may have earn 6 figures in your childcare business, but how much did you actually profit at the bottom end result? And I'm definitely going to make a separate video about that. So if you guys like this video and more where they come from, make sure that you like, comment, and subscribe, and let me know down in the comments, what are you guys considering when it comes to charging rates in your childcare program? Until next time.